Welcome back to the Ambition Over Fear portal. I'm Atlas Opia, and I help people expand their interdimensional knowledge. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing why you should view the universe as a supercomputer, and how by doing this, it can give you more access to your psychic abilities, to the energy that is resting in your soul that wants to experience itself in this reincarnation. It can give you a greater connection and resonance with the quantum field of the universe. So you can realize that all the energy that exists is connecting to you and is a reflection of you. So whenever you would like to change energy or create something, viewing the universe as a supercomputer allows you to realize that everything is connected through a network of consciousness. And when you can shift yourself into that resonance, your manifestation abilities will be that much greater because you're operating from a larger connection to the energy you're trying to change. So to start it off, we're going to go into step one. The purpose of the mind is for our formless soul to take form in this third dimensional matrix with an operating system that allows us to interface with everything in this hologram. Our soul naturally is interdimensional. So when we go and reincarnate into a specific dimension, we have to place our consciousness into a container that is connected to the dimension that you're intending to move into. And you have to have a way for your consciousness, which is your soul, to flow through into your body and connect to the hologram around you so you can have a non-interrupted experience in this virtual reality that your soul wants to take part in. But the mind is a static program, meaning although we move through different layers of growth and we have different inclinations to spread our awareness into a certain direction, we're doing that with our free-flowing imagination and our consciousness, which is not tied to the static program of our subconscious mind, which is built from the past. We're going beyond the mind with the imagination and the curiosity of our imagination. And then we have to bring that new awareness in and explain it to the mind in a way where we don't have to be split between our higher self and our body, between our soul and our identity. Because the truth is, every single thing in this universe is neutral. But when our soul creates an association to something, then that thing becomes part of us. So truly what is happening is we're in a collective consciousness, which is a database of thoughts and emotions and energy and information. And then we have an experience where something in our external world catches our attention through our five senses, which is a stimuli. Then we feel something as we're observing this thing in our external world through our five senses. As we create an emotional connection to an energy, it then goes into our body and allows our system in this matrix to create a connection to what we're experiencing. And when we initially come into the collective consciousness, when we initially reincarnate, there is a specific code of the matrix, a program that we have to pass through and adapt into in order for our soul to take part in the way that the world works from an energetic perspective, right? Because when we're expanding our consciousness, you want to ask yourself this question: how does something work? If you get to see something physical, use your imagination and your curiosity to tap into your third eye and ponder the question, how did this thing become physical? Energy creates matter, so when you're seeing matter all around you in the external world, or you're learning about the ways you're connected to the universe, ponder the question, how does this happen? Why does this happen? How does my formless soul come into a body and get to experience this matrix? And when you can learn the mechanics of how different parts of the universe functions and how consciousness interacts with one another, you begin to move into the creator of energy and not just the created or what has manifested. But initially, when we come into the collective, we're tapping into a program. The program allows this large simulation to be real when people are in it. And then we pass through and adapt to a base level of information, which is a set of beliefs and thoughts that come with anyone born on this planet. And then as we grow up, we are surrounded by people, different religions, different communities, different schooling systems, and information programs our mind to where we have a certain functionality for the mind itself that we may not even be aware of. So step one is truly realizing that your mind is not your enemy. Your identity is not your enemy. These are all mechanics that hold a sacred purpose when we're examining how our interdimensional soul gets to have an experience on planet Earth. The identity allows our soul to create a connection to the body and to the matrix long enough for us to have some idea of, I am this reincarnation. I am experiencing a beginning to end duration in this hologram. And the identity is a way for you to connect to the body and the world around you. But initially it can create issues if we have an identity or an ego that is purely created from the past and we're locked in through logic and repetition of past associations to certain energies, and we become held down by it. The mind and logic itself can come in the way of us using our imagination to go beyond the mind and into the different layers of consciousness that exist in our multidimensional system. So when you can truly realize that, you can now realize that the process of healing and expansion can lead you into a place where you're doing shadow work, which is confronting the subconscious patterns of thoughts and beliefs and emotions that lay dormant in your system that may be stopping you from expanding into any identity or experience on this planet. But when you're doing that, if you're fighting the mind and fighting the identity because we want to feel a sense of redemption for what the mind or identity has caused us, because when we go through a spiritual awakening, we realize that our soul is so elastic with its ability to not be attached to a certain energy, so we're truly feeling the level of pure consciousness and the totality of the universe when we're in the position of our higher self. And then we see our identity in our subconscious mind, and it can make us angry because we're like, why are you getting in the way? I'm doing all this work. It may not be going as good as I want it to be, or I may not have the results I want, because I know in my higher self that I can feel that other energy. The truth is, your higher self, the dimension at which you're operating from when you're there, is an energy that exists in a much higher wavelength and intensity and speed. So you're able, when you're in your free-flowing consciousness, to feel any manifestation, to see the health you want to experience, to feel the planet that you have a reincarnation in. And so from that, it takes more time, but your mind and your identity are part of your system. So whenever you're fighting something or saying something is the enemy, you're just creating a war inside of yourself. So keep watching to learn how to expand into realizing the proper mechanics the mind can operate from when you decide to see it as a tool and not something that you're in constant battle with. So step 2 is realizing that the mind is a tool, and it is the lens that you're able to see reality from. It is the position that you're able to encapsulate the energies you want to associate with during this reincarnation. So what you do is begin to tell your mind this statement: the universe is a supercomputer. My soul is how I'm getting to experience the entire supercomputer. Because truly, my soul is simply the universe getting to experience an individualistic aspect of consciousness. The universe is getting to experience an identity by branching off into souls and different types of beings. And each one of those souls and beings have a certain creative direction they want to go into, because you have different reincarnations, so you have a blueprint of unique energy you're working with. The reason the universe is a supercomputer is because when we look at technology and the internet, what comes to mind? The fact that everything is connected through the internet. You can go on Google and you can search something. You can use these online search engines to access any information. There is a connection between everything online through the internet. So there is a connection between every single energy in this universe through the network of consciousness. And what happens is, you know how there are stem cells, right? Which is a neutral cell that is able to adapt itself into any type of cell that is needed. So it's almost a resource that can become anything. That is what consciousness is. Consciousness is seed energy. Pure consciousness has no particular form, but has a potential to create everything. So when you look at everything in this universe, all it is pure consciousness that has been given a certain intention or direction to expand into. And then that becomes matter. So everything in this universe, the core of it is pure consciousness. So when you're able to go outside of your identity, above the idea of what you're attached to and the beliefs that make you, and you go into your higher self and you allow yourself to even go further than that, where you're connecting to the entire universe, and you realize that you're no longer observing the universe, but you are everything you're thinking of. And you begin to shift from I to everything is me. That's when you're feeling your soul backtrack to its origin, which is pure consciousness, and the universe is a source of pure consciousness. So when you're able to feel into that commonality, you realize that every single thing is all one. When you look at the stages of creation that make anything in this universe, the original state is pure consciousness. And that is a feeling people get when they meditate or go on certain journeys, is they tap into the pure consciousness of the universe, and they allow their soul to shift, right? Because we're connected through all 13 dimensions. The source of energy is at number 13, the 13th dimension. And then energy runs through every single dimension as the potent form of consciousness waterfalls into every dimension below it until it reaches a point of creation. So you are everything. Now, step 3 is the minute you're able to pivot your consciousness from the third dimension to your higher self, you can initiate a shift in consciousness, because you realize that when you have experienced a shift in consciousness before, your soul may have initiated that. And sometimes we can get in positions where the interdimensional experiences we're having are not something we're initiating, but it's something that happens because our higher self is trying to show us something, or the universe is trying to get our attention in a certain way. But the key here is learning how to activate that shift. It is always about your positioning. It's like you imagine that, there's an apartment building with 13 floors. This is a metaphor for the 13 dimensions in the universe. And there is a line of energy, a connection cable running from the source all the way down. But at any given moment, you can move your awareness to the point of energy in that beam that exists on a particular floor. It is the same as when you're changing perspective on a certain situation. It is why people who are lawyers can take the truth and wrap it in a certain way, because when you change your perspective, everything around you changes because your positioning is altering. So now you know that when you need to shift to your higher self, you move into the observer. You feel as if you are a ball that has multiple layers. The inside ball could be your place on this earth, you feeling your identity, you being in resonance with your body and the third dimensional manifestations around you. And then when you go out, you're almost backing up. Like you're zooming out. You can zoom out into your higher self, where you're able to observe your life, your experiences from a neutral point of view. How can you do that? Is you look at something that triggers you the most, and you find a way to look at it as neither good or bad, and you observe the energy that it is and appreciate the essence. Because you'll know when you think of something triggering, your mind is going to want to bring up the energetic association you have towards that thing, to keep that loop of information alive so it can survive. But when you can observe your deep triggers and you feel a sense of non-attachment, you know that you've gone beyond the barriers and reactivity of the mind. And moving back into your body is truly feeling as if you're coming down in an elevator and the energy is getting thicker, and you're feeling the slowness of earth and the heaviness and the density. So begin to shift right? Because then, depending on what you need in any given moment, you can pivot from the dimension that you need to approach the situation from, or the experience from. Now, step 4 is something that you can do when you pivot back into your higher self, okay? Being psychic is realizing that every single thing is all connected. And that when you're experiencing anything, whether it be a person or a situation or a thought or something in your imagination, you're only bringing that into your realm of consciousness because you're a vibrational match to it. So it switches from I am observing energy to I am becoming what I'm observing, because my consciousness is not limited to the body and the mind and this matrix, because the rules of this matrix state at the very beginning that I am a body and everything else is not connected around me, and I'm navigating this world. Now we're moving into this entire world as a projection of my own energy, and I'm just moving around the different things that I've taken part in creating. Being psychic is moving your consciousness into something else, because you realize there is no separation. When you're able to read somebody or a situation, you're simply moving your consciousness from your body into your higher self, and then from your higher self into that thing. The only thing stopping you is a mind coming in and telling you that this thing is separate from you. But when you go beyond the mind, all of a sudden, you're realizing it's all about letting go of any belief that tells you reality works a certain way, and being able to do the work where your mind is able to let go of these static programs of how you're interfacing with this reality, so you can integrate your interdimensional consciousness into this body and create a hybrid identity where you're operating from both positions and you're navigating to where you need to go. Being able to read the akashic records, which also branches into being psychic, is truly just widening the parameters of what you feel like your consciousness is connected to. It's expanding the mind to a point where you feel like the mind has no walls, and you feel like there is this vortex of energy that is expanding. The minute you allow your imagination to be the leader and you tell yourself that everything is connected through the same building blocks of consciousness, and the source of any creation is pure consciousness. So you can shift your consciousness into other parts of the universe that also have consciousness. That is when we're able to truly take the idea that reality is a supercomputer and allow it to give us the permission from the mind to let go and allow the soul to lead. So when we're trying to retrieve information from the akashic records, when we're astral traveling into places in the universe that our soul has a residence in, or when we're trying to connect with the reincarnation we've had as an interdimensional being, we can allow the imagination to travel without the mind limiting it. Once we tell the mind a metaphor that can allow it to understand the greater truth of higher dimensional consciousness. And even when you allow yourself to do that, and you see everything as a computer, your mind goes, oh, well, a computer is just hardware. It's something physical that is storing information that's connected to all the other information that is flowing through other physical containers. That is the same thing that is happening as different interdimensional souls reincarnate into bodies, and we're all connected through a larger network of communication called the collective consciousness. Our hardware is the body and the mind, And we run a certain software in the body and the mind, which allows us to interact with the larger network of technology in a better way, depending on what we allow our brains to expand into. And then other people are doing the same thing. It allows you to create more efficiently too, because you realize that a computer and the software in it can become anything if you know how to work computers. The universe can change into anything when you see everything as a connected piece of technology, and you are not only part of the technology, but you're the entire technology. So when you want to change a part of yourself or heal or manifest, you just shift your consciousness into the energy you're trying to summon. And then as you are embodying that energy, you just change yourself. It's almost like when you're wanting to heal a part of your body, you can move your consciousness out of that static state where it believes it's just a body and move into, for example, like, your knee. And then you can basically say, now I'm the knee in the moment. I'm shifting my consciousness into the knee. And then as you're becoming the knee, you just shift the energy you're in, because in that moment you're in the position of being the knee, and that energy can change. I make videos every Tuesday and Thursday. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and gained some guidance from it. Definitely subscribe, share the video, like, comment, tell me what you think, what have been your experiences. And if you would like more assistance in learning how to fully embody the powers of the universe and explain to your mind ways that can open the gateway and give you full access to all your higher dimensional consciousness in your body, consider my galactic quantum coaching. I'm here for people that have an enormous potential of magic and alchemy, but they just don't necessarily know what the next step is, because there is new technology coming in. So in order for us to know what we're meant to be doing, we have to be open to new ways of interacting with our consciousness and spirituality, because we don't know what we don't know yet. So through my coaching, I break stuff down in a very articulate way. I've created a collection of skills based on certain ways that one can interact with the quantum field, and based on what you need to do as part of your galactic mission or in this reincarnation, I can teach you how to do those things in a breakdown of articulate actions. Well, I'll talk to you guys soon. You have an amazing day. Bye.